Hello, I'm your superhero critic, and I'll stay super as long as you stay awesome. With the success of the first two Iron Man films, they eventually went and did the Avengers film, which I'll be reviewing later. However, after Avengers, they created Iron Man 3. I personally did not enjoy Iron Man 3 as much as I enjoyed the other two. So, in honor of Robert Downey Jr. month, let's just get this over with and deal with the crap fest. Our film begins with a narration by Downey Jr. with scenes of exploding Iron Man suits and, like the other two films, awesome AC/DC music.
Let's track this from the beginning.
Yo, listen up, here's the story.
What the fuck? That is not AC/DC or anything resembling good music. Why did you go with Eiffel 65, Marvel? You had something going with AC/DC in every film, and then, nope, I'm just gonna throw in a one-hit wonder, thus creating a one-hit wonder movie. Music aside, our film actually begins in the past of 1999 at a New Year's party where Stark is being Stark and takes a chick back to his room in the elevator. We meet Killian, another upcoming mechanics engineer. Tony tells him to meet him on the roof later. The girl, being Maya Hansen, shows Tony an invention called Extremis that can potentially fix injuries. However, there's a glitch.
This is what I'm
Afterwards, we get another voiceover with Killian being stood up by Stark and Stark leaving Maya while she's working. Jumping to the present, where we see Tony testing out his newest adaptation to his suits. The ability for his suit to automatically attach to him.
Probably a little fast. Slow it down. Slow it down just a little bit.
We then get a terrorist video by the Mandarin declaring war on America and that he will strike when no one is expecting it, which of course sends the country into a panic. The government redesigns War Machine into the Iron Patriot as well before we jump to our heroes having a lunch. Stark wants more information on what's going on, but of course it's kept hush-hush. Tony starts to have a panic attack and has no clue as to why before we jump to Pepper, who is having a meeting with a now good-looking Killian, who shows it promotes his Extremis technology. Happy alerts Tony about what's going on, but of course Pepper turns down Killian's offer because she feels that the technology could become weaponized. At home, our couple try to have a date night only for Pepper to learn Tony is not even in his freaking suit. Tony alludes to the plot of the Avengers film, saying that he is scared of losing Pepper because he is only a man in a world filled with gods and aliens. After having a nightmare, Stark's newest suit almost attacks Pepper through his mental connection. We jump to the streets where a junkie meets with a dealer. Happy, thinking something's going on, tries to intervene. The dealer, of course, steps in and hurls Happy across the area as the junkie turns around to ask for help.
Help me!
last time I had any drugs that made me explode, I had diarrhea. The explosion leaves Happy in a lot of pain, but he's awake enough to watch the drug dealer walk away as if nothing happened. After Tony visits Happy in the hospital, the paparazzi gets in Tony's face and he shows the Mandarin he is not scared by doing the stupidest thing ever and giving our villain his address.
My name is Tony Stark, and I'm not afraid of you. I know you're a coward. So I've decided that you just died, pal. I'm gonna come get the body. There's no politics here, it's just good old-fashioned revenge. There's no Pentagon, it's just you and me. And on the off chance you're a man.
While doing research on all of the explosions that have been going on, Tony makes the plan to go to Tennessee to investigate more. Maya shows up to try to warn Tony, but while the three of them are arguing, a missile shoots through the window. Tony uses his armor to protect Pepper, of course, as the house is attacked from all sides. Once the girls are safe, Tony takes the suit back and does everything he can to fight off the helicopters. But it doesn't take long for him to get overpowered and plunges into the ocean along with half of his house. Tony finally gets the suit working, but goes unconscious. He eventually comes to, only to crash and find out he is now in Tennessee before Jarvis goes offline from low battery. Tony wanders the state and finds shelter at a boy's shed. The boy comes home and strikes a deal with Tony in order to fix his suit. Pepper finds a helmet in the wreckage that has a message from Tony. We then learn that Maya's boss may be in leagues with the Mandarin.
This boss of yours, does he have a name?
Yeah, Aldrich Killian.
Could they have made the fact that Killian was the villain any clearer? They might as well have just said, I'm the villain, in like giant flashing arrows or something like that. Witness firsthand the Mandarin's looming presence before jumping back to Tony, visiting one of the explosion sites, trying to learn more information. While the kid continues to badger Tony about the events from New York, he has another anxiety attack. At a bar, Tony meets the mother of one of the explodees and learns that there's more to everything going on. An extremist victim, posing as Homeland Security, shows up, attacks the bar's patrons, and sets her sights on our hero, who of course uses his brain to outsmart the woman in an explosive way.
Cheesy one-liner.
Sweetheart, that could be the name of my autobiography.
Tony is not in the clear, however, as another extremist destroys the water tower, entrapping Tony and taking Harley captive. Tony, of course, literally has another trick up his sleeve as he blasts the guy in the face. The Mandarin hacks the airwaves again, but this time he has a hostage and demands the president to call him or he'll die. But he shoots the hostage anyway. Tony contacts the Iron Patriot in order to get his government files on AIM with the help of an obsessed nerd who allows him to use the cable van. Through the files, Tony learns more of what Extremis actually does. Jumping back to Pepper, we witness that Maya is in cahoots with our villain. Y'all just done fucked up now. Y'all have done superhero rule number whatever. Fucking with the superheroes. Girl. It's not gonna end well for you. All because you are stupid! You're so stupid! Iron Patriot goes to investigate another lead, only to find an Iranian prison room that has a planted extremist carrier within it. Back to Tony having another attack when he realizes his suit is not being charged properly. Harley gives him the advice of building something since he's a mechanic. So we get a montage of Tony creating makeshift weaponry and taking out the guards with said weapons. Once inside, we learn the truth about the Mandarin.
My name's Trevor Slattery.
What are you? What are you, decoy? You're a double, right?
What, I mean, like, not a study? No, absolutely not. Don't hurt the face. I'm an actor.
Okay. Let's get this out of the way. Why did you fuck up the Mandarin so much? You take one of the most iconic Iron Man villains and turn him into a fake terrorist. It would make more sense if, you know, he was actually a terrorist, actually doing all the things he's done. But no, you make him a backyard villain and focus all things on Killian. Which would make more sense if Mandarin was pulling the strings and Killian was the person being manipulated. But no. You take one of the most iconic villains, completely ignore everything about him, and turn him into a stooge. I hate to say this, but fuck you, Marvel. After Killian's stooge knocks out Tony, he comes to and Maya tries to convince him to help them with their plan. Killian shows up and does the typical villain speech until Maya tries to off herself, and in return, Killian kills her anyway. Good job. While one hero is being tortured, Tony activates his suit, but it takes forever to actually get to him. The action scene is kind of funny to watch as Killian's goons are taken down by an armorless Iron Man. Once the suit finally gets to him, our heroes pay a visit to the Mandarin actor. Our heroes try to warn the vice president of the plan, but it shows that our vice president may be partnered with our villain anyway. On Air Force One, the fake Iron Patriot starts his plan, killing everyone in the boardroom. When Iron Man finally gets to the plane, after killing the bad guy, he is forced to play a huge game of Barrel of Monkeys with the people falling to their deaths. At the docks, Killian reveals more of his plan to the president as our heroes sneak onto the ship. All of Tony's suits show up to help take out all of the extremist holders, and while trying to save Pepper, our villain reappears to torture our hero, only to lose a hand.
Yeah, you take a minute.
Everyone give him a hand. While Tony handles Killian, Rudy saves the president from his fate. Tony tries to save Pepper, only for her to fall to her death. Our hero is now extremely pissed off, and the final fight between him and Killian begins. As they give each other everything they have, Tony does one final act of forcing the Mark 42 armor onto Killian, blowing him up.
Jarvis, do me a favor and blow Mark 42.
Of course, however, following the explosion, Killian is still alive and Tony is a sitting duck until Pepper reappears and knocks Killian with a pipe. The suits deem Pepper a threat and target her, and after an amazing feat of reflexes, Pepper takes out the suit as well as Killian. Our movie ends with Tony activating the clean slate protocol, blowing up all of his suits. The vice president and Mandarin actor are arrested. Tony undergoes surgery to fix the shrapnel in his chest. Happy wakes up in the hospital. Tony gives a bunch of goodies to Harley, and the movie closes with our hero tossing away his reactor before the narration declares Tony's suit is just a shell of the man he was. So there you have it, the worst of the trilogy of Iron Man films. Now, there's still one film left for Robert Downey Jr. month, and that is the very awesome film for Avengers. And that will be coming May 1st to celebrate Avengers 2 Age of Ultron. So, I hope you look forward to that review. I'm your superhero critic. I'll stay super as long as y'all stay awesome. Hello, I'm your superhero critic, and I am the almighty Thor. Come on. Can I go a week without someone interrupting me? And how are you even talking? You're an action figure. I heard that you were doing my sequel, so I wanted to help and join in on the review festivities. Okay then. I really need to stop drinking so much Monster. This is Thor, Dark World. Our sequel begins with narration on the Dark Elves and our villain Malekith. The narration talks about Malekith's war against Asgard. We see him and his elves fall to the Asgardians. Our villain does a kamikaze attempt, and instead of destroying the ether, Bor instead tells his men to bury it. In the present, we jump to Loki's sentencing for his actions in Thor and Avengers. After being sentenced to life in the dungeon, Loki has one question for his father.
And what of Thor? You'll make that witless oaf king while I rot in chains.
Thor must strive to undo the damage you have done. He will bring order to the Nine Realms, and then, yes, he will be king.
We then jump to Vanaheim, where a battle is going on where Thor saves Sif. A rock being stands up to Thor, but not for long.
I accept your surrender. Anyone else?
I see that golem didn't take Thor for granted. Get it? He's made of rock. It's a rock joke. That was a horrible jerk, Mr. Hero. Well, no one asked you. You're just an action figure. Back at Asgard, Odin and Thor discuss the Nine Realms becoming whole again. Odin tries to convince Thor to forget about Jane and that he should try to fall for Sif instead. But even at a party, Thor's only thoughts are on his love. In London, Darcy interrupts a date of Jane's, trying to warn her that the scientific equipment they use is going crazy. She eventually leaves the date, and they go to the area where kids find a unique discovery. I'll just let Darcy take this joke for us.
That doesn't seem right.
Kids show Jane a rift that allows objects to teleport through it, and she realizes it has the same type of readings as she got in Mexico. As she snoops around, she's sucked into a portal and taken to the dimension where the ether is being kept. As she investigates it, a piece of the ether attaches itself to her, causing her to faint. This in turn wakes up Malekith from his slumber. Thor talks to Heimdall about Jane, but learns that Heimdall can no longer feel her presence. We then see a visual of Jane fusing with the ether, and when she finally comes to, 5 hours later, Thor comes back down to Earth.
Jane.
Sorry, I just needed to make sure you were real. It's been a very strange day.
I am. Jane, what?
Where were you?
Oh, you know, I was just saving the world and the universe and every other thing that, you know, is my job. You still could have stopped and said hello. It's been 2 years. Why did I have to fall in love with a crazy lady? You do realize that was a horrible impression of me. Yeah, I know. After the two lovebirds catch up, the cops try to figure out what's going on, but as the cop touches Jane, an ether pulse is released. Thor knows he needs to figure out what's going on, so he takes Jane to Asgard. On Vardelheim, Malekith talks with his number one elf in Elvish, so we really don't know what is said. Odin is not accepting of Thor's choice to bring Jane to Asgard until her infection attacks him. Odin Odin goes into story mode as we get exposition on how the Nine Realms were created and who the Dark Elves were and what the Ether is. While Thor and Jane discuss more possibilities on her condition, a prisoner in the dungeon breaks free himself and other prisoners but leaves Loki in his cell. As the Asgardians do what they can to bring prisoners back to justice, Heimdall's ship senses tingling. As the Elvish Armada begins their attack, Asgard finally gets their shields up, only for an elf to deactivate the shield, allowing a ship to get through carrying Malekith himself and an army of elves. Malekith wastes no time in heading for the Ether as Frigga sword fights the elf. After tricking our villain with an illusion, she meets the end of a sword. After the funeral for Frigga, the Ether begins to have Jane see more of it. Odin decides to make Jane a prisoner despite Thor's feelings. Our hero tells his father he'll take Malekith down. Odin doesn't have any trust in Thor's words, and Thor sits down with his men as they pitch ideas on what to do. The only thing he can come up with is getting his brother's help. We see how messed up Loki has become, and after their brotherly discussion, Loki agrees after a few words from Thor.
You betray me, and I will kill you.
When do we start?
The team breaks Jane out of her cell as all of Thor's friends are willing to cover for him in regards to his father. As Thor tries to get the ship working, his friends fend off Odin's men. As the ship gets chased, Thor hatches his real plan of a smaller ship with Loki taking them to his secret pathway. The brothers then argue over Jane's love as well as their mother's love, and we see how much anger Thor really has in him. Back on Earth, Darcy helps release the Doctor, and we see the first glimpse of the realm's convergences. Where is the crow when you really need him? Back to our heroes, we watch as Loki betrays Thor like we all knew he would, including in hand castration, as our hero's brother kicks his ass and hand delivers Jane to Malekith. Our villain rips the Ether out of Jane and something unexpected happens. The Ether isn't as destroyed as they thought as it reforms and is absorbed by Malekith. The fight begins as Thor fights the big elf while Loki takes on the smaller ones. Eventually, Loki takes down all of his elves and goes to save his brother. In the process, he makes an ultimate sacrifice as he gives his own life to take down the big guy.
See you in hell, monster.
Loki! No! You know, he's playing a trick on you, right? He's still alive, he's just trying to make you think he's dead. Come on, spoilers, man! Okay, badass over there. While in a cave, Jane's date from the beginning of the movie calls her and somehow gets reception. She follows the trails of her keys and all the shoes that were thrown and finds the portal back to Earth. Our group is reunited and the doctors figure out where the convergence is going to take place. The invasion begins as Malekith's ship appears on Earth. The final fight begins as Malekith and Thor fight it out, and Jane and Darcy use the power of science to start dimensional rifting elves back to the other dimension. As the fight with hero and villain continues to go from dimension to dimension, they throw comedic moment after comedic moment at us, including Darcy's intern saving her life.
You're right.
You saved my life.
Yeah. Yes, I did.
Oh great, now they're probably gonna shove a forced relationship into our faces. Probably.
Darcy?
God damn it! I do believe it's Odin, damn it! Sorry, father! Thor takes the science equipment and heads straight into the middle of the ether tornado. As Malekith warns our hero that the ether cannot be destroyed, Thor reveals his real plan.
Have you come to witness the end of your universe?
I've come to accept your surrender.
Our movie ends with Malekith's ship almost killing Thor and Jane, only to teleport to the other dimension, killing our villain. The humans discuss Thor's disappearance again. Thor turns down the throne of Asgard despite his father's wishes, but his father gives him permission to do what he wants for himself. Unfortunately, it ends up being Loki in disguise.
No. Thank you.
This movie is not really that bad. It's not that good as the first film, but it's honestly not that bad. It's good to see more of Jane, and it's really good to see Loki as a good guy over the bad guy he was in 2 other films. The only thing I don't like is the fact that they barely had Malekith on screen, or having him speak Elvish the entire film, so you can't even understand what they're saying. The least we could have got was subtitles. Other than that, it's a good movie. Now, join me next week when we get into conspiracy theories with Captain America 2: Winter Soldier. I'm your superhero critic, and I am the almighty Thor! And I'll stay super as long as you stay awesome. Oh, beast. No one shall ever know about our forbidden love. And hello there, I'm your superhero critic. I'll stay super as long as you stay awesome. And nobody saw that. When it comes to sequels in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, all of them are treated differently based off the superhero. And of course, Captain America 2 gets the conspiracy theory treatment with lies, deceit, betrayal, and without further ado, let's just dive straight into the cinematic awesomeness that was Captain America 2: Winter Soldier. The film begins with a man jogging and the captain continuing to pass him. We learn his name is Sam Wilson, who later in the movie will become the Falcon. Spoilers! The two talk about the past and reminisce about their days in the military.
Jammed into one album.
I'll put it on the list.
Hey! You need to rewrite your list, good sir. Star Trek should be above Star Wars. Black Widow picks up our hero and they head up to their next mission, which is a hostage situation on a boat in the middle of the ocean. Our hero is seen quickly taking down all of the terrorists one by one with no problems. As the rest of S.H.I.E.L.D. join him, Widow heads the opposite side of the ship to help find the hostages, which it doesn't take long for them to be found and rescued.
On my mark. 3, 2, 1.
I told you, S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't negotiate.
Captain ends up fighting the ship's leader man-to-man in a well-done choreographed fight and of course eventually overpowers him, crashing into the computer room where Widow is copying all of the S.H.I.E.L.D. intel. The captain feels like she's putting the operation in jeopardy and she simply says she's doing her job. A bomb is thrown during the distraction.
Okay. That one's on me.
You're damn right.
The captain is pissed at Fury for not telling him what's going on, so to prove to him he can be trusted, Fury shows the captain more helicarriers and planes. The captain thinks all of it is unnecessary, but Fury tries to show him that it's because of the aliens from the Avengers film, so Earth has a bigger defense. The captain then goes to visit his love of Peggy Carter, who is now 96. They talk about how Steve was robbed of living a life. During a hearing with the council above S.H.I.E.L.D., Fury talks to Pierce to try to stall the council in order to figure out what's going on with the project he sent Widow on. So now we're getting into the thickening plot of the film. Fury lies to the captain, S.H.I.E.L.D. lies to Fury, and if anything from Pretty Little Liars has taught us, secrets are better kept when one person is dead. There is nothing wrong with watching Pretty Little Liars. I am married after all. I do spend cuddly time with the wife. Don't judge me. Fucking dicks. Steve goes to talk to Sam and we learn more about his character. Fury contacts Maria Hill to meet him and he's quickly attacked by people pretending to be cops. Throughout the scene, we see how much of a badass he is as he blows up his enemies' cops' cars. A car chase begins as Fury runs for his life, and the chase goes all around New York until we meet our villain for the first time, who blows up Fury's car. Fury gets away, of course, as Steve is flirting away with his neighbor. She tells him his stereo's still on, and he climbs in the window because he feels that something suspicious is going on. Steve finds Fury injured in his home and is warned via phone to not trust anybody, and that S.H.I.E.L.D. has been compromised. Fury is shot from long range, and we find out that Steve's neighbor is also a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. Our hero goes to chase after our shooter, only to learn he's faster than he thinks. I think the captain's thoughts right now is that wasn't supposed to happen. Our heroes can only watch as their mentor dies on the hospital table. Natasha, of course, is pissed off and wants to know what's going on. And we see that the hard drive has been put into a vending machine. That is the stupidest thing you could ever do with that hard drive. Are you thinking that nobody is gonna get some hubba bubba? Sorry, dude, but this plan is just stupid! At S.H.I.E.L.D., Pierce talks to Steve about Fury supposedly being a double agent and having double motives. Steve, of course, doesn't believe a word of it. As the captain goes to leave S.H.I.E.L.D., the elevator slowly fills up with a bunch of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents who, of course, try to attack him. After he takes them all down, more S.H.I.E.L.D. agents go to infiltrate him, so he does what only the captain can, which is bursting through the elevator. S.H.I.E.L.D. uses its ship as one last effort to stop the captain, but also fails. S.H.I.E.L.D. S.H.I.E.L.D. resorts to putting the captain on the highest wanted list, and Steve goes to grab the hard drive, which of course is missing. But Black Widow has it. The two question each other on what's going on, but neither of them have answers outside of a ghost story of the Winter Soldier. The two head to the mall to try to get the drive's information, and of course the drive is encrypted, so S.H.I.E.L.D. picks up their signal. After getting what they needed, they give S.H.I.E.L.D. the slip by even resorting to making out.
Public displays of affection make people very uncomfortable.
Yes, they do.
Oh, Lordy, it's getting hot in here. Our duo head to Jersey and get into the building that Steve feels is out of place. As they look around, they find loads of S.H.I.E.L.D. goodies, including a secret elevator that leads to a computer room. After booting it up, they learn from a now robotical Armanzola that Hydra has been secretly part of S.H.I.E.L.D. since the beginning, and the project that Fury wanted investigated is part of Hydra's plan. We then watch as the captain saves the two of them from a missile.
Out of time.
The Winter Soldier goes to visit Pierce, and Pierce tells him he wants our heroes dead. Our duo heads to Sam's to try to lay low and try to figure out how to stop S.H.I.E.L.D. Sam shows them a way that he can help. The three find Sitwell and interrogate him, and after pushing him off the roof, he spills everything, including alluding to Doctor Strange. We find out that Hydra's real plan is to kill anybody that Hydra could see as a potential threat. Our trio drive to stop Hydra, the Winter Soldier appears, and we say bye-bye to Sitwell. Hydra wastes no time in taking out our heroes as we see our heroes escape the car crash only to begin a gun war in the streets. One by one, the Hydra members are taken down. Widow tries to take on the soldier herself and doesn't get very far. As she's running away, she's actually shot in the process. The captain steps in and goes toe-to-toe with the soldier, and after a lengthy and epic fight that goes back and forth, our hero makes a startling discovery. You know, right now I would play the crude dun 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 joke. However, any comic fan knows who the Winter Soldier is because they read comics. But those who don't read comics are probably thinking,
Who the hell is Bucky?
After Falcon and Widow save the captain, S.H.I.E.L.D. finally captures our heroes. Steve tells the other two who Bucky really was, and Sam warns the guards that Natasha could bleed out. We then find that Maria is in disguise as she takes out their other guard. We then learn that Fury is still alive and is in hiding. At Hydra, we see that Bucky's memories are starting to come back, and Pierce does what he can to suppress them. Our heroes sit around and try to figure out what to do, but Steve demands that S.H.I.E.L.D. never be rebuilt after the success, which Fury agrees to. We watch a flashback of hero and friend in the past, promising that they'll always have each other's backs. Our heroes then begin their infiltration of S.H.I.E.L.D. as Steve takes over the intercom, letting everyone know who is not Hydra, that Hydra is within S.H.I.E.L.D.
And if I'm the only one, then so be it. But I'm willing to bet I'm not.
Did you write that down first? Or was it off the top of your head?
As Hydra fights S.H.I.E.L.D. throughout the building, the High Council is taken captive and the helicarriers are launched anyway. Our heroes start taking down the men on the helicarriers, and we learn that Black Widow is actually one of the High Councils in disguise, and quickly takes out Pierce's men. The Captain and Falcon manage to get 2 of the 3 chips switched out, but unfortunately the Winter Soldier joins the party. After Fury and Pierce talk about betrayal, Fury forces Pierce to open the files up.
Eyes open.
Alpha level confirmed.
Oh dear God, that eye is fucking disgusting looking. Fight between friends begins as the soldier stops the captain from replacing the third card. Pierce releases his trap and ends up revealing that the pen's widow is wearing is armed to electrocute her. The captain is almost successful with replacing the third chip, but is shot. But of course, with it being a hero movie, we watch one last effort.
Charlie Lock.
Where are the targets? Where are the targets?
Okay, Cap, get out of there.
Captain demands Maria to shoot the helicarriers despite Captain being on it. Widow electrocutes herself in order to have Fury kill Pierce. Bucky is crushed under metal, and Sam is forced to continue fighting with the strike commander until the building is hit with a helicarrier. The movie goes emotional as our hero does everything he can to convince Bucky who he is, and as our hero is knocked unconscious underwater, we see a depressed Bucky pull him out of the water and disappear. We get a montage of clips including the senator from Iron Man being arrested, the strike team leader being burned to a crisp, Black Widow telling the government to basically shove it, and if they want to arrest her, then do it. Fury is seen in civil clothes as the rest of the team is mourning Fury's fake death. Our movie ends with Natasha handing Steve a folder with information on Bucky.
You're going after him.
You don't have to come with me.
I know. When do we start?
So there you go. No one can trust anybody. I personally really enjoyed this film. There's really not much I can say about the film that is bad. The action's good, the plot line is good, everything ties in and makes sense. It's one of the few sequels that was actually enjoyable. But join me next week where I take a look at some sequels that are less enjoyable. I'm your superhero critic. I'll stay super as long as you stay awesome. Hello, I'm your superhero critic, and I'll stay super as long as you stay awesome. And before my mental breakdown caused me to, not do videos for a while, I promised everyone I would take a look at the Guardians movie. So that's what we're doing. Guardians of the Galaxy, also known as Guardians Volume 1, was released back in 2014 based on the obscure superhero team of the same name, and was a 10th film in the MCU. The film starred Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, and WWE wrestler Dave Bautista, and was written and directed by James Gunn and co-written by Nicole Perlman. The screenplay started getting written in 2009 and was announced in development in 2012. The movie focuses on a young Peter Quill being abducted as a child growing up to become a Ravager, and he finds an orb that is secretly one of the Infinity Stones, and it gets him captured by the Nova Corps, where he finds the rest of the Guardians. Shenanigans begin and he finds his family. So let's take a look at the first Guardian.
What kind of feeling? I'm high on believing that you're in love with me.
The movie begins in 1988, where a young Peter Quill is in the hospital as his father is trying to calm him down because his mother is dying due to cancer. Once she passes, he is stricken with emotions and runs away, only to be abducted by a spaceship. Superhero 101. If your child is not miserable, they're not going to be a good hero. In the present day, our main hero Star-Lord has landed in Morag in search of an artifact called the Orb, but not until he's a dick to wildlife. Star-Lord finds the orb where it's being kept, but as soon as he gets it out of its holding, he is met with Korai and his men who want the orb for Ronan the Accuser. Hijinks ensue as Star-Lord attempts to get away with his life and the orb. Once he makes it out alive, Yondu is angry that Quill basically backstabbed him.
Ain't no orb, ain't no you.
Well, I was in the neighborhood. I thought I'd save you the hassle.
Well, where you at now, boy?
I feel really bad about this, but I'm not going to tell you that.
I slay.
Use, you lose. On the Dark Aster, Ronan is shown torturing a Xandorian because he is against the recent peace treaty ending his life. Nebula then lets him know that Korath is back, and he tells Ronan about Star-Lord, and Gamora volunteers herself for the retrieval mission. Nebula, of course, is angry that she can't be the one to do it. Sibling rivalry at its finest. Only Bart and Lisa do it better. On Xandar, Quill brings the orb to the broker, but once he learns Ronan is involved, he wants no part of it and backs out of the deal. Gamora then tries to steal the orb, leading to a comedic chase scene where the both of them do a back and forth on who has the upper hand, and Rocket and Groot join the fight as well, showcasing one of my favorite weapons that Rocket has.
I live for the simple things, like how much this is gonna hurt.
I want one!
No, you do not need.
Why is she mean to me? The quartet are arrested by the Nova Corps, and we get a small backstory on each of the Guardians before they are sent to the kiln for a jail montage, and we see how many people hate Gamora. Hey look, they're just like real cops, ignoring everything that actually happens. Groot then makes a friend.
Let's make some.
That night, Gamora is met with people who want her dead, including Drax, who just wants Ronan killed. Peter saves her, and Drax agrees to keep her alive. The Guardians then begin their breakout plan, and the scene speaks for itself as it showcases what each member can bring to the table, leading up to Rocket cutting off the gravity, allowing them to make their escape. Star-Lord makes a detour determined to get his Walkman back, and the group then butt heads as there is still a lack of trust, as Ronan begins tracking them down, and Yondu wants to know who the orb's buyer is as the Guardians head to nowhere. Where are we going? Nowhere. We are leaving, correct? Yeah. So what is our destination? Nowhere. I hate you sometimes. While they wait for the Collector's representative, Drax and Rocket get drunk, while Gamora and Peter bond over the concept of music and dance, and Peter makes his move. Rocket ends up having a drunken emotional fight with Drax before the group go to the Collector, and he explains what the Infinity Stones are, showing the true power of the orb that they already collected. The Collector's slave then tries to free herself, unleashing the stone's power.
Wow. What a bang.
Yeah.
Gamora believes that they have to take the orb to the Nova Corps, but during the meeting, Drax has snuck off to send Ronan a message, allowing Ronan to track the Guardians down, starting a ground fight with Drax and a space battle with Nebula that results in Gamora's pod being blown up. Star-Lord then becomes a hero and contacts Yondu before sacrificing himself to save Gamora. Star-Lord better get some green for, sacrificing himself. And by green, I mean... Drax admits that he acted as a fool, with Groot saying that they need to rescue Peter and Gamora. Ronan then fuses the stone with his hammer, declaring that he's going after Thanos once he's done with Xandar. Yondu wants to kill Quill, but he points out how valuable Gamora's knowledge is. Rocket then attempts to save them in the most unorthodox way.
Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
The group argue over not having an actual plan, and we get an emotional and heartfelt conversation where everyone agrees to stand by each other's side. We then get a montage of a plan actually being made. The space battle begins, and the Nova Corps actually show up when everything looks grim.
Peter Quill. This is Denarian Sal of the Nova Corps. For the record, I advised against trusting you here.
They got my dick message!
Is that supposed to be the new age dick pic? Quill's ship lands inside Ronan's as the space battle continues as the city becomes attacked, but the Nova Corps set up their ship defense wall. Drax then does not like what Nebula has to say about Gamora.
Gamora, look at what you have done. You have always been weak. You stupid, traitorous.
Nobody talks to my friends like that.
The team split up to do their jobs as Yondu takes down an entire squad of Ronan's men. I don't know if I want the gun or the arrow.
You don't need either.
My spouse doesn't love me. The sisters begin brawling as the necropilots are ordered to dive bomb the city. Korath intercepts the group, leading to a fight that ends as quickly as it starts, with Drax killing Korath and Groot letting out some anger. Note to self, do not anger Tree. All looks bleak as Ronan destroys the shield. Gamora finally overpowers Nebula before she decides to break her hand off over actually working with Gamora. Quill then tries to blow Ronan away.
I'm a firing my laser!
I don't think that worked. Rocket crashes into Ronan, and as the ship goes down, Groot wraps himself in a cocoon structure, protecting everyone but sacrificing himself. Ronan does a cliche villain speech as Peter begins a dance-off distraction, allowing Drax to blow up the hammer. Peter manages to grab the stone, and we have an uber friendship moment as the Guardians band together, saving the day.
You're immortal! How?
You said it yourself, bitch. We're the Guardians of the Galaxy.
He said it. Yondu still wants the orb, so Peter does a switcheroo to get him to leave. The Guardians are then thanked by the Nova Corps as Peter learns that he's not fully human due to their blood samples. Dex then reveals that they have repaired Quill's ship, and our movie ends with the Guardians rushing into their next adventure. The movie was majorly successful, making $773 million, and became the third highest grossing film of 2014, behind Transformers: Age of Extinction and The Hobbit: Battle of the Five Armies. And while it's not my favorite MCU movie, it is still not the worst movie in the MCU, and it has a great plot, acting, effects, and an amazing soundtrack. It is no wonder why these lovable jackasses became household names. And that was Guardians of the Galaxy. And while I personally am not a big fan of the Guardians franchise. It is unique, and there is way worse movies in the MCU, most of which I've covered. It's just meh. It's not a bad movie in any sense of the way. It's got great acting, great fights, and, a great plot. It's just mediocre at best, is what I would put it at. It's not bad, but it's not, Infinity War or the first Iron Man. So, that being said, thank you for watching. I'm your superhero critic, and I'll stay super as long as you stay awesome.
Hooked on a feeling, I'm high on believing that you're in love with me. Lips as sweet as candy, it's tasty.
Hello, I'm your superhero critic, and with incredible March gone and Civil War just around the corner, I thought, what's better way to celebrate Civil War by the film that starts the Civil War, Avengers: Age of Ultron. Our film begins with our Avengers infiltrating a Hydra base looking for Loki's scepter, and it shows each member's strengths. Iron Man lets his Iron Legion out to help out the natives get to safety and eventually finds his way into a secret room, while Hawkeye is attacked by an unseen force. Black Widow has to calm down the Hulk while the Captain meets Strucker.
You'll have to be faster than that.
I think he's fast enough. Stark finds a secret room where the scepter is being held, and the Scarlet Witch casts a spell on our hero that causes an illusion of all of the Avengers dead. Ah! Fuck you, Disney! Fuck you! And your jump scares, you Five Nights at Freddy's asshole! Twins stand by and allow Stark to take the scepter, and we jump to the Quinjet with everyone trying to figure out how the group failed. Mariah gives the captain the intelligence on who the twins are, making a joke on their powers that makes people think of the Incredibles. Our two science nerds go into research on the scepter, and Stark does everything he can to convince Banner to let him create an AI, and after a montage, Ultron comes to life and researches humanity through the interwebs, before taking over Jarvis.
I believe your intentions to be hostile.
I'm here to help.
Stop. Please, may I?
It's now party time as the entire cast is shown having a good time, including a random Natasha and Bruce flirty scene that after the first film has seemed to be a forced relationship. During the after party, we get one of the best scenes of the film with all of the Avengers trying to lift Thor's hammer with no success until...
Come on, Cap.
Nothing.
Ooh, the hammer budged. Do you see the look on Thor's face? I don't know why I did that voice. Ultron makes his first appearance and quickly sends the entire Iron Legion at our heroes, and after they get their asses handed to them, he gives them the things to think about. The group then learns that Jarvis is dead and that of course everything is all Tony's fault, but have no idea what to do. The twins have a meeting with the new upgraded Ultron, and of course we see how fast he's built an army of robots. The group learn that Ultron may be headed to Wakanda for vibranium. The twins visit Ulysses Claw, who refuses to give them what they want until...
I only deal with the man in charge.
There is no man in charge. Let's talk business.
Claw gives Ultron the vibranium only to get his arm cut off, setting up for him to turn into Claw. The good guys show up, and it's not long before the two teams clash, during which Scarlet Witch messes with our hero's mind, showing Black Widow the past she wishes to forget. Captain America sees the past he wishes he didn't leave, and Thor sees the destruction of the Asgardians.
Everything. They see you leading us to hell. Wake up!
Iron Man learns after catching up with Ultron that Banner has lost control due to his vision he was given, and Stark calls in the Hulkbuster suit to give us one of the best scenes in the film as we watch Iron Man and Hulk and the entire destruction of a city that would make Man of Steel jealous. After the fight is all said and done, we watch as the Hulk comes to his senses and realizes what happens. Hawkeye takes the group to the safe house, and we learn Hawkeye has a secret.
Mom. Hi. Company. Sorry, didn't call ahead.
This is an agent of some kind.
Gentlemen, this is Laura.
I know all your names.
Linda Cardellini. One of my high school crushes, thanks to the Scooby-Doo films. If you want to know why, here's an example of why.
Who's your mommy?
Latex. I'll be back. Hawkeye talks about being a human among gods with his wife, who ensures that he is still needed. Ultron visits Chow and demands her to help with his plans, while Natasha and Bruce get closer while discussing Bruce leaving to keep the Hulk away from people. We learn that the two of them want kids, but feel that it's impossible. Stark and Rogers start arguing over Ultron not knowing what's going on, and while working on a tractor, Fury appears to learn why Stark did what he did.
Look me in the eye and tell me you're going to shut him down.
You're not the director of me.
I'm not the director of anybody. I'm just an old man
Who cares very much about you?
The group gets together, and Fury does what he can to pep talk the group, and Bruce figures out that Ultron is really creating a body as our villain takes the Scepter's crystal and places it on the forehead of his creation. Our heroes head out as Stark starts an internet tracking down Ultron as Thor recreates his vision.
Wake up! Extinction.
Scarlet Witch learns Ultron's real plan and releases the spell on Chow, and a car chase begins with the Captain chasing down Ultron and his body. The chase turns into a fight upon the truck as Black Widow drops her cycle and joins in on the chase. Eventually getting in the truck as Ultron's bots fly away. The twins show up to help the Captain, and the train they are on gets off the tracks, and they have to save the day only how Maximoffs can. Sorry, twins. Spider-Man still has the best train-saving scene, even if he did look constipated. Stark reveals that Jarvis is in fact still alive and does all he can to convince Banner to help him put Jarvis inside the body to prevent Ultron from using the body at all. The Captain, of course, thinks it's a bad idea, and the team becomes split as a civil dispute begins. Thor shows up and jump starts the process, creating the vision. The The group try to figure out whether or not Vision is on their side, and we learn that the gem is the Mind Stone, one of the 6 Infinity Stones, and we get a speech from the Vision.
I'm not what you are, and not what you intended. So there may be no way to make you trust me, but we need to go.
So, I do believe Vision's trustworthy and honorable. I mean, Captain could even pick up the hammer. So, yeah, I believe he's on their side. All of our heroes contemplate everything that is about to go down as they make their way to Ultron and evacuate the city. Bruce rescues Natasha, tells her he cannot help while Iron Man heads straight to Ultron. Our villain releases all of his Ultron bots, and we watch our heroes take them down as the Vision goes head-to-head with Ultron. The entire city is then lifted and taken into the sky and is going to be used as a meteor as Ultron gives us a speech.
Do you see the beauty of it? The inevitability. You rise, only to fall. You, Avengers, you are my meteor, my swift and terrible sword, and the earth will crack with the weight of your failure. Purge me from your computers, turn my own flesh against me. It means nothing. When the dust settles, the only thing living in this world will be metal.
Natasha tricks Bruce into hulking out to help be a hero while everybody else takes down bots and saves civilians. Scarlet Witch and Hawkeye have a heart-to-heart on what it means to be an Avenger, telling her if she can't handle it to stay behind. She then proves that she can handle it. The takeover continues as Iron Man tries to figure out how to stop the country from destroying everything. S.H.I.E.L.D. appears with a helicarrier that deploys mini-ships in order to load the civilians onto it, and War Machine joins the fight as well, and the Avengers surround the drill to stop Ultron.
That's the best you can do!
Had to ask.
God damn it, Marvel! Stop stealing all my punchlines! Our heroes defend the drill against all the Ultron bots as the time winds down and Hulk sends Ultron flying. As Hawkeye is getting all the people to safety, a straggling kid is seen and he goes to save him and almost meets his demise.
You didn't see that coming.
Bullet 1, Quicksilver 0. I'm pretty sure the Flash would have been faster. Just saying. We see the pain in the Scarlet Witch as she knows that her brother has been killed, and after a lengthy fight, she eventually rips part of Ultron's heart out, and the heroes win, so they thought, as the meteor heads down to Earth. Stark's plan of blowing the meteor up succeeds, and the Hulk cuts off all connections to himself, as we see a depressed Hulk fly away from everybody. The film ends with Vision talking to Ultron about his failure before obliterating him, and we jump back to the farm where husband has a tender moment with his wife. Then we jump to Stark in the new Avengers headquarters where everyone discusses the events. Thor heads back to Asgard while Steve and Tony talk about everything that happened. We then allude to a brand new team.
Avengers!
So there you go. Age of Ultron. Now you see why the Civil War is beginning, because you could already tell that the Captain and the Man of Iron are slowly falling apart. With that being said, there's only 2 MCU films I have yet to review. So, without further ado, it's time for the Ant-Man! Be-ba-ba-ba-da-bo! Ba-ba-ba-da-bo! Ba-ba-ba-ba-da-bo! Ba-ba! Hello, I'm your superhero critic, and I'll stay super as long as you stay awesome. Sometimes it takes a small hero to make a big change. So, with that being said, let's take a look at Ant-Man. Starting in 1989, we watch a CGI young Hank Pym being pissed the company he works for is trying to steal the formula he's working on. He quits after punching a guy in the face, and we then meet our main hero Scott Lang getting released from jail, being picked up by comedy relief friend Lewis, who talks about robbing again, but he says he wants to go straight. We then watch him get and quickly lose a job at Baskin-Robbins. And that is why you go to McDonald's, because they'll hire anyone. Lewis introduces Scott to other friends and once again asks him to do the job he wants to do. Scott once again says no. Hank heads to his company and we meet the movie's villain, Darren Cross, who has found almost all of the information on Hank Pym particles. We learn he wants to make the suit into a war weapon, and we learn why Scott wants to go straight. Scott's daughter's stepfather basically shows us how much of a douche canoe he is and demands Scott to leave, but not before Scott gives a gift to his daughter.
For you.
Can I open it now?
Of course, sweetheart. It's your birthday.
Dear fucking God, that toy looks fucking creepy. It looks like the goddamn Monty Python bunny. So after Scott's ex kicks him out of the party, Darren runs into a client who disagrees with him, but our villain is villain for the sake of being a villain, and mucusizes him. Scott agrees to do the job, and after Lewis' story, we get a montage of the crew doing what they need to do the job. Scott makes his way into breaking in and easily makes his way through until he realizes how old the safe is, but quickly does what's necessary to blow the door off its hinges. What are you doing?
I poured water in the locking mechanism and froze it with nitrogen. Ice expands, metal doesn't.
What are you doing now?
Waiting. Waiting.
Nice.
Scott, finding nothing but a suit, takes the suit anyway, not realizing he's being watched. Darren continues his experiments and kills Mary's poor lamb, while Scott tries on the suit and learns the hard way not to push buttons. While Scott is learning what it's like to be small, from being flushed down a tub to being at a rave, almost being eaten by a mouse, and even dropping in on Carlisle from Black Scorpion, Hank's voice is constantly heard talking to him. Our hero decides the suit's not for him, but ends up arrested when he tries to return it. Hank poses as his lawyer and gives him a good guy speech and tells him he was set up from the beginning. So let me get this straight. You set me up to rob you to prove that I'm the one you want, but still disrespect me by calling me a thief and a lowlife. Fuck you! A group of ants bring Scott the suit back, allowing him to break out of jail, and he ends up riding an ant for the ride of his life until he passes out. When he comes to, he's at Hank's house, and Hank's daughter, Hope, does not believe that they need him. Hank explains the whole situation in the past to Scott and the audience, including Darian's obsession with the Pym particle formula. Hank finally tells Scott what he needs from him.
Breaking into places and stealing shit are done.
me to do? I want you to break into a place and steal some shit.
Darren finally has a breakthrough in shrinking animals, and our two good guys allude to the rest of the MCU as they discuss plans and father-daughter argue over whether or not they need Scott. After a heartwarming speech, we get the training montage that lasts a good 3 minutes, which includes learning how to use a suit, learning different types of ants, fighting, and manipulating the ants themselves. Hope and Scott discuss her feelings on why her dad chose him and not her, and Scott finally gets a breakthrough on controlling the ants.
It's good.
Learn the real facts behind Hope's mother as Hank goes into a detailed speech on what really happened to her, sacrificing herself to stop a warhead. Hope forgives her dad as Scott finally gets the hang of his powers, and we watch as Scott does his first job, but it doesn't turn out the way they thought it would, as it turns out to be the Avengers' new headquarters, and we watch the Falcon and Ant-Man beating the crap out of each other, Ant-Man eventually coming out the winner.
It's really important to me that Cap never finds out about this.
I do believe the captain will still find out. Just a hunch. Hank is pissed off but learns Scott actually succeeded on his job. Darren visits Hank in his own home and they have a heart-to-heart of angry proportions. Darren calls Hope, telling her he's amping up security, causing Scott to call in his friends in order to help them sneak in, with everyone having a specific expertise. Ant-Man quickly gets in the building with Lewis constantly acting like an idiot.
Hey, what are you doing?
Boss man said to secure the area, so I'm securing it.
I'm the boss.
Oh.
Utilities 1.3.
With everyone in position and the ants frying the servers, Darren is set to reveal his yellow jacket suit to Hank, but Scott's crew almost get arrested before we get the speech from Darren of "I've known everything all along, and my mentor picked someone other than me, so I'm evil, blah blah blah." When Darren goes to kill Hank, it becomes a stalemate.
You're the one to do it.
Here we go.
Drop your...
So, let me get this straight. Our villain is a man who's obsessed with the hero who, wants the hero's technology and ends up building a suit of his own. Where did we, see this before? Scott breaks free of his containment, starting a fight with Hank being shot in the crossfire. It's now a chase scene as Scott chases after Darren and having to dodge man after man, and Lewis actually does something to help. Hank reveals his keychain is not just a keychain.
Shots fired!
And there's a tank.
Note to self, find keychain to make bigger. As Scott heads after Darren, our asshole villain shoots Anthony, pissing our hero off as the fight in the helicopter takes place. Scott reveals their plan was not just a heist as the PIM building ceases to exist. Darren dons the yellow jacket suit and the fight begins with our characters bouncing from normal size to tiny size, including some funny moments like a lifesaver blowing up and even being paddled into a bug zapper. The cops finally catch up to Scott.
Paxton, you have to listen to me.
We find out Darren has gone straight to Cassie's mom's place, and the fight continues on a toy train set, giving us some of the funniest fight moments like this. And this. I do believe Thomas the Tank Engine is happy to see you. Scott shrinks in between the molecules of Darren's suit, showing us what happens when he goes atom-sized, and he floats in atom space. Using one of the enlargement pieces, it helps him back to normal size. The movie ends with Scott not remembering how he got back from the matter zone, and we see a random romance between Scott and Hope happening out of nowhere. Scott is finally allowed around his daughter, and Lewis has another job for Scott revolving around the Falcon.
And? What'd he say?
He said yes.
So that was Ant-Man. I personally enjoyed the fuck out of this movie. But May's just around the corner, so we're gonna take a trip from Marvel to my favorite DC hero, Batman, with the 3rd annual Bat-May. And what better way to start off Bat-May 2016 than with Sub-Zero. I'm your superhero critic. I'll stay super as long as you stay also.